We are live. Hi, everyone, and welcome on this episode of Talking With. I think it's the 141, if I'm not wrong. But today we have Kacie, my friend from Toronto, and we met some months ago. He's a super talented developer. He's working on as a blockchain developer now. I'm here to listen about his story, and it will help us also to get a little bit more an idea of what Web3 is, share some thoughts. So feel free to drop all the questions that you have. We see a lot of people here. Hello, Suhail, Udai, for Cuba. I love that. From Peru, hey Julian, Yash, there we go. Ishan, we see a lot of people today. So last time I like this his name. So how are you, Kacie?
I'm good. I'm a little nervous, but I'm okay and I'm happy to be
Is
here.
this just one question? Is this your first appearance in a live stream or not?
Of this nature, definitely. Yeah. I've done Zoom calls, but like on a YouTube channel like yours is my first time.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice, and we can see already a lot of love from Udai, other people. We know we are always connected on Twitter. So, so Kacie, but maybe not everyone in this live stream they know you. So maybe I'll ask you to introduce yourself, especially to people who don't know you. By the way, you should fix this as soon as possible and follow Kacie right before we start, of course. Yeah, please introduce
Yeah.
yourself.
I'll introduce myself. So basically, my name's Kacie. I am from Toronto, Canada. I am 23 years old, and I pretty much recently got my degree in computer science. I graduated at the top of my class. Actually, I had international honors, and really, I graduated from that space, and I was sort of lost at what I wanted to do, and that's when I found sort of tech Twitter and Web3, and I really dove into it, really got into it. I really loved it, and then now I actually have a position, a job at MusicCoin. It was at its peak $100 million valuation for the organization, and so I've been having a lot of fun there. I got to meet really cool people there. Uh, and I did a hackathon recently. So I've just been really active in the Web3 space. And all this really kind of started from Twitter. So that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about who I am. I also have a lot of friends. I like to see, I see UD, I see all you guys in here. It makes me really happy to see you guys here. And yeah, I met you, Francesco, like a couple of months ago, and that's a little bit about me.
Great, great. And here we can see legends together. So I love this kind of comments. So let's keep this for a while on the screen. I like that. Yes. So of course, and we have some questions, but also we would like to pick questions. Live because we're doing this. Okay. Also because I don't want to edit a video, but especially for people to make jump on this stream and ask whatever you want. So usually when you talk about, by the way, I'm also super interested into this topic, honestly. And so let's start with a very basic questions, like you do in a school. So let's start with something super easy. So
Okay.
why? So let's start with the why. So why did you get niched so down? Because usually I get this question, like, should we be like generalists or should we specialize? And usually what I say is better to specialize, but this is my point of view. So
Yeah.
from my point of view, so from my perception, this can also be wrong, you can correct this. You have decided to specialize, so you have decided to niche down.
Mm-hmm.
So why, and are you happy with this decision?
I'm very happy. I'm
Okay.
very happy with the decision to sort of niche down. The why I decided to do it is essentially I decided to niche down into Web3 because I'm very, very ambitious, right? So I always would watch these interviews by Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg, and I followed what they did at Silicon Valley in 2004, right? And I was like, I wish I was there way back when. And sort of when I graduated and I sort of looked at the tech field, it felt very sort of established, right? There's a set ladder that I had to climb. I had to be a junior dev, intermediary dev, senior dev. It was very hard to do what I wanted to do, right? I really wanted to be that genius superpower in the space, and it was possible. But essentially, when I discovered Web3, I was like, this is a frontier, right? And I see what Yude's saying in the chat. Sorry, the comments are really cool. I'm really, hi Yude. No, but so essentially, I saw this opportunity in Web3. I saw it as a frontier. I'm not the only one to think that. Mark Zuckerberg had an interview a while ago, and he thought, like 3 weeks ago, and he said the same thing. It's a frontier, and I saw an opportunity, right, where I could start now, and within the decade, when this is everywhere, be at the top of this space, right? Like I could be a thought leader. I could be someone that's essentially their opinion is very valued and they're very successful, right? So that's the reason why I got into it. It's because I had this dream that I always had this dream to be at the top. I was always really ambitious, and with Web3 it seemed more possible. And the moment I got into it and I was sitting in this space with these huge people in the space, I was like, this is where I need to be, right? Like, how hard would it be to get in a room with Mark Zuckerberg right now? Here I was sitting with, the founder of Dogecoin, like a 23 billion dollar market cap on his project. I just saw this opportunity, and I was like, if I don't get into this, I would feel bad, because I think I could be a thought leader in this. I think within 10 years, right? This isn't about like being on tech Twitter or being here and here. I think in 10 years I could be a leader in this space, and that's why I decided to go through it, because the opportunity, in my opinion, was greater.
Great, great. Just let me say something super fast. First of all, I am a super fan of Elon Musk. And second thing is that in 2 days, I'll be in the Silicon Valley, because I'll move, I'll be for a week there, right there. So this is
I'm
kind of
jealous.
destiny, but yes, yes. You're making it, bro. Admire your courage and spirit. Yeah, yeah. Visionary, probably is talking about you. So yes, so it's not that easy and to decide something, but I think that you have done a very great decision. And so maybe there are some people, if you have a question, just drop this. But if you don't have a specific question, maybe some people they are here, of course, because of you and me, but they want to know how they can also get started. They can see if this is it worth or not. So probably something that you get very often. But how can you get started? Because I got this question like 20 times per day with my niche. So how can we get started? Which is the best way to get started? Let's say, and let's pretend that maybe we have a little of experience. We are not just super fresh. Okay, so maybe we are developers, but we want now to niche down. So maybe you can go back like I don't know for how much time you have niched down, but let's say that we have some basic, and now we want to step into Web3. Which is the way that you suggest?
I think so. I think it sort of depends on where you want to be in this space. I think the first step you need to do, so if you have some experience, if you know Solidity, not Solidity, if you know JavaScript, right? If you have no HTML, CSS, you know what a front end is, you're in a good position, in my opinion. You're in a good position to really dive into this, because when you learn Web3, you'll find that it's like learning a new stack, a new tech stack, right? It's not, people get sort of mystified by it, and they're like, it's the next big jump, which it is the next big jump, but technology-wise, a lot of the fundamentals you have are going to be used there. So if you already know HTML, if you know CSS, if you know JavaScript, you're in a good position. And I think your first step is to research where you want to be in the space, right? If you want, for example, to be an NFT developer, they make a lot of money. I would start working on some NFT projects, right? If I wanted to get into DeFi, decentralized finance, that's its whole own thing, right? We have to learn tokenomics, you have to learn a lot of stuff there. So I think to answer your question, because I'm going on a little bit of a tangent, I think the best way to start, if you are sort of new to Web3, assuming that you've made the decision, right? Like some people, I tell them like, are you sure you want to do this, right? Like assuming your risk tolerance is high, right? And you made the decision to get into this, I would start by learning Solidity, because that'll give you access to sort of Ethereum development, and that's the most popular development. So I would go on Udemy. I would either check documentation. I would learn on YouTube, whatever place you want to find, whatever resource you want, learn Solidity, right? Step number one. Step number two, I would start building projects, but I would start building the projects that you're interested in, right? So if you want to start with NFT projects, that's fine. If you want to start with a token project, that's fine. A DApp project, that's fine. A DeFi project, that's fine. I would start these basic projects, and I've talked about these projects a lot on my Twitter page. I've linked them, right? I've given tutorials on them. So once you finish doing a couple of basic projects in the field that you're interested in, this is where things start to differ, right? I would join a blockchain development group, because a lot of the information that you need right now isn't really published, right? It's not really super established. So I would join a blockchain development group. I always advertise the BDU, which is the group that I'm in. But there are other groups that you could join, and that's going to really open the door for you, because you're going to have people that are going to teach you the lingo of Web3. Oops, I'm getting a message. I'm sorry. They're going to have people that tell you like the lingo of Web3. You're going to get access to sort of a little bit of mentorship, right? You're going to get experience with really important things like Telegram, right? You're going to basically have this network. So now that you're in this development group, I would learn some popular projects that make you really employable, right? I would learn specifically, if you're on the Twitter side, I would learn how to make an NFT minting page and an NFT community project. And at that point, you can just start networking, and you will find someone that's going to pay you for their project pretty fast, right? And that's how I would sort of get into Web3. So because I said a lot of things, so just to recap, I would first learn the language, which with whatever resource you want, Solidity. So I would learn Solidity with whatever resource you want. I would then pick up some super basic projects. I talk about them a lot already. Then I would join a development group, and then that'll help you know the lingo of Web3 and everything. Then I would learn some popular projects. And at that point, you're in a good spot, because you're somewhat hireable as a freelancer, and there's people looking for you. And once you work on one project, the door is open for you, because people will contact you. Hey, I have this thing for this project. Do you want to sit on this? Hey, I have this organization that wants to work with this. So that's sort of my little roadmap. I could get into way more detail, but that's like my sort of short version of it, or what I did personally.
Thank you. I really love this. I really love this answer, and this is more or less what I'm also doing. So it means that I'm doing well. Maybe I miss to join a real blockchain group. We can talk about this later.
Do that, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So now let's talk about the who. So is this Web3 for everyone? Because I've seen that, for example, on Twitter, sometimes there are some discussion like, don't just step into Web3, or maybe you can. So what's your personal point of view? Of course, we all have our idea. This can also change. So what do you think about the people that can join? Of course, this, as you said before, also depends on how much time do you have, if you can do this, if you're allowed. So for who is Web3?
I will say I've gotten this question a lot. I've had a lot of discussion about this. I've seen sort of people's takes, especially Danny's takes. I've had a bit of discussion on Twitter. not a lot, but I've seen sort of his take on it. The question, who should get into Web3, right? I think it depends. So there are people that say, I don't recommend this path, right? And there are people that are really bullish and say, get in on this, right? I'm somewhere in the middle. I think for Web3, there are people that I recommend this path to and people that I don't recommend this path to. I recommend this path to really people that are, number one, really ambitious, and number two, have a high risk tolerance, right? I got into Web3. I was able to be successful in this space because I really had I don't have a family to take care of, right? I have financial support from my parents, right? When I started this, right? I don't have a high risk tolerance, and that gave me the ability to excel, because if I failed, which people do fail, because it's not the same thing as Web 2, where Web 2 has, a more defined path, right? So I would recommend this space really to someone who's number one, ambitious, right? If you're just looking to get a check, you could do that in Web 2. If you're looking to break into tech, you could do that in Web 2, and you can make a lot of money there, right? Web 2 technology, the tech field is very lucrative. But if you're like, if you're somebody else, thanks you, Dave, by the way, if you're somebody else like me, and you have the ability to take risks, and you're really ambitious, right? You grew up watching these people like Zuckerberg, Musk, and you want to rise to the top of the space, I think Web3 has a more actionable path to get to the top, because the space is so new. It's a frontier, right? Everyone's building things. There's more opportunity to make a lot of money quickly, and there's more opportunity to become a thought leader. So to summarize, I don't recommend this space to people who don't have a high risk tolerance, who are trying to change their careers, right? Who are maybe living paycheck to paycheck, have financial difficulties, right? Because the path is less clear, right? But to people who are ambitious, I will say the greatest people in our generation and before our generation, the most successful people, they didn't walk a path that was defined, right? They walked a path that was new, and that's how they were able to be really successful in their space. So if you're young, I don't want to say young, but if you have a high risk tolerance, if you have the ability to fail, and you're ambitious, I would recommend this space to you, because I think there's a greater opportunity to be somebody great in this space, right? And if you're not in that category, and if you're really looking for stability, and you're looking to sort of have a defined path, I would say stick with Web 2, because there is a greater path, right? There people have walked this path before. People will help you along the way.
Yeah, thank you. This has been a really great answer. I totally agree with this. So basically, just to make a recap, but basically it takes maybe a little bit more time that maybe you don't have. You don't have maybe 6 months or 1 year to dedicate to this. And by the way, just want to say that maybe you don't have to choose Web3. You can also decide maybe in a couple of years. So maybe you can also, when you switch career, you don't have to choose, and then you will never can go back. So we're talking about if you want to do this today or tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
You're saying about this, of course. One at some points, you also, for example, now I'm getting very interested into that, but I don't come from that niche, for example. And nice. So thank you so much. I see a lot of people in the chat, and so since I see a lot of questions about the technologies. So usually I like to leave this topic to the end, but I see a lot of people, they really want to know which piece of code we can do. By the way, it will be nice to do something together. So let's talk a bit about the technologies. So for example, let's get this. There are many questions, so I'll take them in order. Sorry, but so I don't lose them. So you can just make a very sneak peek, and then we can niche down if they are connected to each other. So of course, if you feel free also to introduce them very briefly. So,
Yeah.
do you prefer Ether.js or Web3.js? Can you introduce them very briefly? I've heard that, but I've not used that much, to be honest.
Yeah, so Ether.js and Web3.js are really mainly used to connect sort of your application, whatever you're making, to the blockchain, right? So that's how the connection sort of works. So for example, if you were to make a page with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then you make a Solidity contract, the way that you're going to connect the two, sort of like when you're connecting your code to a web server, right? The way that you're going to connect the two, the blockchain in your code, is you're going to use either Web3.js or Ether.js. And sort of to answer the question of which I prefer to use, I use both. It depends. For Ether.js, I really have trouble connecting to other networks like Polygon. So sometimes I'll just switch out for Web3.js, but sometimes, for example, if I'm uploading to the Ropsten test network, I'll use Ether.js. For that purpose of connecting your decentralized application to the blockchain, you can use both, right? I use them interchangeably. I've used Ether.js when I first started, and then now I'm using a bit more of Web3.js for other chains. So really, you could use both. It really depends. It doesn't really matter as long as you're getting that connection to the blockchain, in my opinion.
Nice, thank you. By the way, remember to answer the poll. And by the way, I've done interview with Vito. Do you know him? I think so.
Yeah.
And the other time we had like 70% of Jon Snow level. Now I see that there are 60% who consider themselves beginners. So maybe people are getting more interested. And it has been just a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know if the people of today they are smarter or not. But I like this. I like this. We have also 3% of intermediate. Kudos to him. Now her. Nice. So thank you for this answer. So let's deep dive a bit into the technologies, because we developers we like to talk about really, okay, but which is the library that we want to use. So I like this. Let's dive a little bit if you want. So what's for the backend developer, like smart contract is for logic, but I've heard it's only 10% of Web3 project. So is there like Node.js or Python code also goes to it?
Okay, I'm just reading this back. What's for the backend developer, like smart contract logic, but I've heard about 10% of Web3. Okay. Yeah.
As a backend developer, what you can do, basically.
There are people that just do Solidity. So there are people that are just purely Solidity devs, and they're also somewhat in demand. But if you're making a full application by yourself, which is what you're probably going to need to do when you're starting out as a freelancer, I'd say 20% of your code is Solidity, right? The smart contract usually isn't the hardest part of the code. It's everything else. It's the tests that you're going to write in JavaScript or Python. It's sort of the front end that you're going to be making, sort of all of these things. So basically, to answer your question, for the back-end developer, you could get a gig purely as a Solidity dev. Those exist, and they make a lot of money. But to get hired as a Solidity dev, you need experience, and the way I feel like you're going to most likely get experience in this space is with gigs. And for that, you're going to need to know JavaScript, because you're going to need to make the full thing, right? People are going to say, I want an NFT minting page. You can't just give them the contract. You're going to have to give them everything. So as a backend developer, you can get a job just doing smart contracts, but to get to that point, I think you're going to need a bit more, because you're going to need to get experience with gigs, which you need more. But there are backend, there are backend devs, Solidity devs that just do the contracts.
Nice. Thank you so much. I think we've answered this. Maybe just make a fast recap of what we said before. How do we judge who should start with 3 and who should not?
I see Sahel. Hey, Sahel.
Hey, Sahel.
I judge on risk tolerance and ambition, those two things. So if you have a very low risk tolerance, I suggest just doing Web 2 because people have walked the path before. There are a lot of people that have resources that could help you land a job in tech, especially in
Yeah.
our community. Um, if you have a very low risk tolerance, let's say you're a student or someone that has time to dabble, right? I would maybe start just looking into Web3 because, especially if you're really ambitious, because there is, in my opinion, a greater opportunity to become a big person in the space.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah, and by the way, I've interviewed a lot of people who made a lot of money just with WordPress and PHP. So it's not about the technology; it's more about where you want to excel, what you would like to learn. So it's not just about that. Perfect, nice. I see in this question. It's interesting. Hey, Akebu, can someone without the front-end knowledge start the Web3 journey, or do you need that base foundation? What can you say about this?
I would really recommend having fundamentals in front end. I would really recommend knowing JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. However, I would be dishonest if I were to say that you absolutely needed that to be successful in the space, because one of my closest friends in the community, CJ, is wildly successful and he skipped Web 2 and just started with Solidity, right? So there you do have the ability to excel, but personally, for just my own recommendation, I would know those basics of front. I would know the fundamentals of front end programming because you're going to need them for gigs most of the time. So just to answer your question, Akbu. By the way, thank you for coming, Akbu. Just to reiterate, just to recap, I personally recommend it, but I personally recommend knowing front end basics and just fundamentals in general. But there are people that have been successful in the space just with Solidity. So make what you will of that knowledge.
Perfect, thank you. And by the way, Casey, you are doing great because we are just taking questions from the the people in the live stream, and you are giving great answers. So I like more this kind of style. And Michael Web 2 is for me, but this is not a choice. Choose for your life. So maybe in we are talking about maybe 2022, and then you'll see. And so he'll I'm an expert on JavaScript and React, also experience in Python and Node.js, but I still don't know which way to go from here into Web3. So what do you suggest? I think I already answered this, but maybe we are talking about a person, as I said before, who is not super fresh. But by the way, first of all, it's never a bad thing to be an expert in JavaScript and React. So this is already good to get some money. So maybe it's asking like, if I'm already an expert, let's say in Web 2, let's say, still don't know which way to go from here into Web 3. I think that I'm more or less into this state. So this question is also interesting for me. I come from the DevOps world, so more DevOps and backend rather than front end.
Yeah.
So yes. So what can you say about this?
If you already have strong Web 2 fundamentals, Gibbs, I believe Gibbs asked this question, it's going to make your transition a lot easier, right? Because pretty much everything you listed is used. Almost everything you listed is used in Web3. But if you're a little lost, I did make a little roadmap on this, but what I would do if I were you is, number one, I would you don't have to learn Solidity all the way, but I would find a resource to just understand the basics of Solidity and then start with projects, right? So my first project that I would recommend, for example, is like a basic D application, and then a token, and then an NFT, and then that shouldn't take you too long, right? If you actually go through my pin tweet, I have a list of projects that you could do that in less than a week, if you have experience, right? After you do that, I would join a development group, because that is where you're going, a blockchain development group, because that is where you're going to sort of get introduced to the community. It's very hard to describe the decentralized community without you being in it, right? But once you join that group, you'll see all these people using terms you don't know, right? and then you'll just start to learn, and you'll start to understand, where I should be going for opportunities in this space. When I first started in this space, this is a great question, Gibbs, because I forgot to get into this. When I first started in this space, I would just sit there listening to people in spaces and in Discord, and they would say words I had no idea what they were talking about, right? And then I'd be like, what is this? And then I'd do more research. What is this? Do more research. And then from there, I was able to suddenly get gigs because now I know people, right? Now they're like, hey, like for example, CJ, my friend CJ recommended me a 10K contract for a gig like last week, right? And it was because I was in these groups, and then I networked with these people, and they said a bunch of things I didn't understand, and I learned. So my number one tip for you, Gibbs, just to recap, find a ability, not something, find a resource to learn Solidity, do the projects that I mentioned. You can see them in my pin tweet. Join a development group, and then maybe after a development group, make a couple of popular projects like NFT projects or something that makes you really, really hireable. And that I think is going to be your sort of nosedive into Web3. I think that's going to get you rolling.
Yeah, I really like the idea, the word hireable. You will become hireable, so someone can be hired. So
Yeah.
I like this. Yeah. Yes, I see that a lot of people here. It's around. Yeah, so here it's following at midnight. Thank you to leave for leaving this open. Thank you for your answer. Have a good night. And we have also Raza in the house. Raza, we have to talk about collaborations. We are planning something related to Web3. So this is a shameless plug, but thank you for being here. Thank you for answering, Kacie. Learning Web 2, but I really like the honesty of your answer. Let me make this compliment because it's not that easy. So yeah, I love that. I love that. I was a fan of you even before, but now way more, even more.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are people do that. By the way, I've done some deep dive into Solidity just a bit, but I still have to create a bit of content out of that. So there we go, Raza. Now everything is recorded. Let's try this. This is a bit different. I hope that we don't go out of topic because we can talk for hours about this. I think there's also some philosophical things, but talks about metaverse from a Web3 perspective. So one day I'll have a metaverse expert in this channel, but I think it's a bit too early. So what are your thoughts about metaverse and Web3? It's a super hard question.
That's a good question. Oh, that's Zishan. Hi, Zishan. So many people I know are in this stream, so it's really nice to see that people come out to see me and
Nice.
to listen to me. Thank you so much. And you're the host of the show. But my answer to the question, I'm gonna give a very basic answer. I haven't really thought about it that much. But my thoughts on this metaverse from a Web3 perspective is I really like. So metaverse is more of a community word, right? I really like the idea of these decentralized worlds, like Decentraland, etc., and this decentralized community that's sort of being created, and the heart or the wish for people in this community to really take the power back from these large corporations and to bring it back to the people. So those are sort of what I perceive to be the core values of the metaverse. And obviously I mentioned Decentraland, there are places where people hang out and there are homes in the metaverse, but my sort of thoughts from a Web3 perspective is, I don't know, I just think it's from a Web3 perspective, I think the technology is really cool. I'm not really sure how to go about that question. I just know I like the metaverse. I like building the metaverse. I don't have a lot of thoughts on it from a Web3 perspective, other than the fact that I think the technology is really cool and I think it's the future.
Yeah, I think maybe it's a bit early because maybe there are some use cases that we still don't see or we can't see. So we need to wait. Maybe in 2022 we'll have a better understanding for this.
Yeah, Facebook
So
just changed their name to Meta, so we're still learning. Yeah.
yeah. Petroleum engineer. How do I start in Web3 development fast? How much time will it take to get an internship given that I know basic programming and HTML? I think it's very hard to answer, but we can give it a try because I think it depends on how much hours you can dedicate. So yes, the stage is yours. Okay, it's a very hard question.
It's okay. I found this a bit easier than the last one, actually.
Okay.
So getting an intern. So essentially, So I see it's Vasu, the Vasu podcast. You're in. I went to. I've been in university like less than a year ago. I was part of the engineering society, so I know how all that works. Um, you want to start Web3 development fast, but you're a sophomore in engineering, so I know your schedule is just insane, right? Like you're going to be doing like max classes, like 6 classes a semester, 5 classes a semester, and you want to know how much time it's going to take you to sort of nosedive into this and get into Web3. To answer your second question, how long will it take to get an internship? I'm not sure about you, Francesco, but I haven't seen an internship for Web3 yet. Personally, maybe I haven't looked, but I don't think there's a lot of internships for blockchain developers. So I'm not sure how to answer that question. I think you have an easier time finding a gig. Don't quote me on that. I check Indeed and see if there are blockchain internships, but I haven't seen a lot of them. So I'm not sure how long it might take you a while to get a blockchain internship, but to sort of get into Web3 development and get your first gig, I can answer that question. I think it really depends on how much time you have. And to give you sort of a time frame is hard, but I think if you're strong in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and you join a development group, I think if you spend like 6-7 hours a day, like I did on it, you could probably get your first gig. I want to say in less than a year, but I don't want to give it an exact time frame. It really depends on your pace and how good you are at networking, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So for me, it took me 3 months from starting, but this was my life, right? I literally sat there and did this as much as I could. I'd pull all-nighters and talk with people all day. For you, it might be a little hard because you're an engineering student. So I don't want to give you a time, but in internships, Uday just said it. I haven't really seen any. So you might have to double check that. But to get into this space, it might depends on how much time you have. But you could do it in less than a year if you really dedicated yourself, in my opinion.
Yeah, perfect. We have Vito in in disguise in the chat, and I was talking about you, Vito, because we had made the exact same poll when you came, and now I think people have stepped up a bit. So this means that the live stream with you has been useful. So I think that Udai now is considered himself a beginner, so it's great. And yes, perfect. Of course. This is a question. Are you killing it? I can answer yes. Freaking yes. Perfect. Nice. Yes. So we've talked about the languages, the libraries. So let's talk a bit about the projects, because for example, this is something that I'm really interested into. That for example, now I'm checking a lot some in NFT projects. Probably I'll go step into some of them. So which are the kind of projects that you think that can really help you maybe to grow as a developer? Because I think should be our goal. We have talked about gigs, try to learn while you also learn money. That's the perfect thing, right? So what about the projects, or some projects that you really like, or you can also plug some of them if you want.
Are you talking about specific projects or projects that you should make?
Let's say about projects that maybe you should make. So let's focus on what a developer can do, since I think a lot of people are developers. I know that there are some big projects in the in the show, but maybe more about from where can we start. So the kind of project, only if you know some project which could be nice to be into.
I would say right now, the two easiest places to get hired in are NFTs and decentralized finance. So I would focus on those two projects. So just to be specific, the two projects that I recommend the most, number one is the NFT project, specifically the NFT minting page, right? Learn how to make an NFT minting page because there are so many. I get 3, 4, 5 DMs a week from people that are like, I'll pay you this much ETH to make me this to do this project with me, right? And that's all on the NFT side. So the number one project to make you more hireable, in my opinion, is to figure out how the ERC 721 contracts works. Those that's the NFT, right? To figure out these NFT projects. Number two, another project I would focus on is anything related to decentralized finance, right? Tokenomics, creating a wallet, right? Projects that have to do with finance are also very popular, and they're also a bit more popular in the actual industry, right? So I've searched up quite a bit of blockchain developer positions in Toronto, right? There aren't that many compared to gigs, but I notice a lot of them are related to tokens. They're related to making a wallet in like Rust or something. So it's those two types of projects. The number one project I would focus on is an NFT project. And then the number two project I would focus on after that is anything related to decentralized finance, so any kind of token projects. But before those two projects, to get a really good sense of sort of how to start, I would make a basic application, decentralized application, and I link that in my pinned tweet. But there's like I would make a really basic DApp where it's just like a page, like a really basic HTML page, a really basic contract, and just linking them together, right? And then seeing how that works with the wallet, like clicking this button will open MetaMask, right? I would do that, and then after that, NFT, decentralized finance, those two kind of projects I think are projects I would focus on because you could really get a gig for a decent amount of money, right? With these projects. When I mean decent amount of money, I'm talking like very common. You could like a gig for like 3K, 2K to 3K on an NFT project, and that wouldn't be uncommon to do, to have.
Yeah, let's say that this is exactly the way that I'm pursuing. In the meanwhile, while I'm doing other stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you for confirming this. So you will see probably something, and of course there will be some Docker somewhere. No problem. I'll put them as anyway. And
Yeah.
yes, of course, this live stream is for Ozonos. Suhile is still here, also. So he's not gonna to sleep today.
Suhail is the
Okay.
most supportive person ever. I love him
The
so
boy
much.
is super brilliant. I think he's talking about me. No, the boy is you, of course, not the boy anymore. Understand this life is fire. Some compliments, nice. The compliments are never banned in this kind of live streams. Like this Idris. There we go. There we go.
Hey,
What are you
Idris.
doing? A lot of people here. The more we stay, the more people are joining. So when I can't highlight all the comments, I'm happy because it means that we have a lot of stuff here. Or as there we go. I'm doing well. Thank you, Idris, for jumping on this stream. Maybe you missed a small part. And there we go. Quick question by Vito in disguise, Pioneers DAO. I don't know. Maybe we'll see this in the future. I don't know. Maybe we have a spoiler here. How do you see the insertion of centralized architectures in decentralized applications?
This is a really interesting question because one of the first companies, like real companies that I talked to, was a company called Wishnish, and they used essentially their blockchain to make vaccination passports, and that was very successful. But one of my biggest gripes with their project was it felt decentralized, right? It was like you have this blockchain, but you have control over certain aspects of it. And I thought that kind of not defeated the purpose, but it felt like not the spirit of the metaverse, but they were very successful, right? People didn't care they didn't care about the logistics. They cared this technology worked and it was on a blockchain. So in the future, I personally, because of that use case, because Wishness was very successful there, I can see a future for sort of these not centralized blockchain, but these centralized models. But I think there's going to be pushback from the metaverse community, the decentralized community, because everyone hates that, right? People love Ethereum because it really truly feels decentralized, and people have bones to pick with, for example, Solana, because they see it a centralization problem, right? So I think there personally, in my own headcanon, just my opinion, people have different opinions on this. I think there will be a future for these sort of centralized models, because I think these sort of companies, especially these big companies, are going to take a more centralized approach. But I think there will be pushback from sort of the decentralized community. So I think there's a future, but there's some tension. I'm not sure how that's going to work out. DB to main.
Yeah, this is an example. You
Yeah.
use a DB to maintain your user base on a full decentralized app. This sounds strange, but maybe I don't know. Maybe you just want to get started, and so you do this. This is what comes up in my mind. Like you just want to make a decentralized app. Anyway, it's like yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like the whole point, if you have a database, you have pretty much complete control over everything in that database, which defeats the purpose of doing it in a decentralized way, because the whole purpose of that is it's on the blockchain, you can't easily change it, and people love it for that reason. People see it as the future for that reason. So as someone that's really bullish on sort of this decentralized technology, I personally, I don't like it, but I can see people doing it, and I can see a future for it if the application works, because I've seen it done with it.
Yeah, and maybe this, if you do like that, this can help you to get started, but then you will pay because you will have a huge technical debt if you want to switch from a centralized database to a centralized. Maybe it's even harder than already the usual migration. They're already hard. So in this case, really good luck. So Hill is still here, by the way. Nice. Go to sleep. So here.
I just want to say hi to a couple of people. I see Lo in here.
I'm trying to reach there. Good question. Can sleep with missing your contents on Twitter. I think Vito is still super active on Twitter. Maybe just a little bit less. But I can't miss you in higher quality content, right? Because I'm still posting. Yes, such a great stream. Of course, because I'm here learning so much from the stream. This is it. Let me just spend like 10 seconds on this. We are doing these live streams for you, so you can jump here, make your questions. So I love this idea of making this super interactive. Drop your questions, so don't be shy. We are trying to answer as many as we can. So thank you, Akebo, for this feedback. I really love this. This is also what really makes me keep going on doing this. Thank you so much. And it touches on how cloud providers have to offer for blockchain community. This is an interesting question. Maybe also related a bit to what I do as a DevOps guy, let's say.
I have no thoughts on this. I have no idea. What do you think, Francesca?
I have not an idea. I think that something will change because I think that what they will do, they will offer in the future. Maybe not now. Maybe next year, in a couple of years. Let's try to make a little bit of vision. Maybe they'll try to provide some services for the centralized apps. So specific for the centralized apps. So this will be kind of a total different approach and different services. Mm-hmm. This is what I think. So we are talking about something which still doesn't exist. So in that day, they will try basically, I think, to make the life of the decentralized developers, application developers, easier by paying something. So they will offer a service for the Web3 developers. This is what I think, but let's see. Something like that still doesn't exist. So we'll see.
Good question, though.
Can you use a database for a decentralized app like SQL or MongoDB? I think that you can, but maybe it's asking more if it's a good practice or not. What can you say here?
I wouldn't. The whole point of doing this, so the whole with Web2, you have information from your browser. There's a connection to the database, right? I don't think I have to explain that, but the whole point of Web3 is to connect what you have to the blockchain, and people like it because it's decentralized. If you use a database, it becomes centralized. So then it's not even really a DApp anymore. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I wouldn't use it. I have never used a database in any DApp I've ever made. I've always just picked a network, picked Polygon, a test network or anything, and just hosted it on there.
Nice, thank you so much. Um, Thanks, Cassie, for responding. How will search work on the centralized architecture? Andy from Twitter mentioned this perspective. I was thinking this will be an interesting architecture problem to solve.
How will search work? Like, what do you mean? Like searching for, you have an app, like Twitter is hosted suddenly on the blockchain, and you want to search stuff on Twitter? Is that what he means?
I think it's that. I think this is what he means, but I'm not sure 100%. So maybe let's switch fast to another question. Any YouTube channel to learn from DAP University is one. DAP University is one I know. I also know that.
Mm-hmm.
But if there are other good ones, if Casey like to recommend, so do you have some specific YouTube channels? Usually I go more on topics, but so I don't have one.
No worries. The two YouTube channels that I know are DApp University with Gregory and Eat the Blocks. I'm not a big YouTube person when it comes to learning. I prefer to read the documentation. So I really like DApp's University's, their video was called How to Become a Blockchain Developer in 2021. And that's one of the only videos I've watched on YouTube about development in this space. But Eat the Blocks, which is another YouTuber, has some useful tutorials. Some of his tutorials aren't useful, but some of his tutorials are the only ones that exist on YouTube for certain projects. Like, for example, he forked a decentralized exchange, and that was like one of the only videos on YouTube that had that. So I would recommend, personally, I find it hard to recommend any YouTube channel because I'm not a big YouTube learner, but I know those two channels, DApp University and Eat the Blocks, I know those are out there and somewhat good. So I would look at those two if you're a YouTube learner. But honestly, the fastest way to learn for me personally is just reading documentation in this space and talking to people in these groups, developer groups.
Yes, by the way, bye Vito if you're still there. Jumping off, and I'm not gonna explain this. You have to Google that. This Wagmi, you have to Google that. Come on, we are developers. Question: what do you think about blockchain security? A situation where someone can hack into a PC and steal someone's coin, Ethereum, any. Is there something we should look out for?
So,
short answer, yes.
Yes.
But yes.
Short answer, yes. There are. I mean, scams are kind of infamous in this community, right? For example, when I remember, it was like just 2 days ago. What day is it today? It's Tuesday. On Sunday, I had a talk with somebody, and I was doing a space, and then somebody wanted to send an NFT to someone else's wallet, and then someone mentioned, be very careful when you do that, right? Use a burner wallet, because apparently there was some way for them to scam you. I wasn't even sure how that would really happen. I know there are a lot of scams in this space, and I know you have to be really, really careful. And I know blockchain security is going to be probably something that's big in the future, or just being aware of these scams. So my answer to the question is I think that there's a future for it. I'm not all too educated on the security aspect of how to stay safe in blockchain. Maybe Francesco, I'm not sure if you are, but I'm pretty sure, yes, there's a future for this in the space, because I've seen scams and I know there are ways to prevent these scams.
Yes, yes, yeah, I agree. Centralized is fast because of indexing. Have a nice time. I see that there
Mhm.
are a lot of people also here who are fans of documentation. Usually, the content creators they read from the docs. For example, this is what I do. I
Yeah.
am a doc developer. I like this, and I see
Open
this
Zeppelin. Yeah.
talks all the way, then maybe a video after. To be honest, I do the opposite. Okay, but usually I start with a video, maybe usually after dinner. I don't know. It's always like that when I learn something new, and then I start with documentation. But I like this is another approach maybe because for me a video just to get started, and then I deep dive into documentation. But
Yeah. I watch the video until I'm like, for like, it'd be an hour video. I'll watch 15 minutes and I'm like, I can't take this anymore. Then I'll just read the documentation. But to get started, I agree with you. I do the same thing.
nice, perfect, 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 Casey. So this hour literally flew has been really super fast. So if you have any last question, just drop this fast in the chat, and maybe let's try to give maybe a final message to people that are here. By the way, I see that there are a lot of people super interested into this topic. Okay, I made a bit biased poll because I asked if you want to deep dive into Web3 in 2022. And of course, if you're watching this video, it's because you are interested. But these results are pretty interesting because we can see that we have, on 24 voters, 66% they say that they will deep dive into Web3. So this means something for sure. So how can we do that in simple words, which is probably the hardest question. I kept this for the last
Oh
because
God.
I want to see you suffer.
So the question is how to deep dive into Web3 in the simplest terms. Okay. I think about this a little bit.
No worries. In the meanwhile, I hope that you have googled this one. Udai is one of the 66% of the people, and I'm also into that. You will see that. So if you are interested into Web3, let's stick with me. Let's keep connected with me, and of course, remember to follow Casey on Twitter. Let me find this here. Let me drop this. Oh, what is this? Let me put this here. And yes, perfect.
Wait, did you want to take a little screenshot for Twitter?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Am I
Smile, smile in the chat.
answering a
5.
question? Okay. She's
Let me see.
yeah.
There we go. Okay, while I see if I don't look like a serial killer, just check if. Okay, should work. Let's see. Nice, super nice. I look almost decent. Perfect. So love you. I don't know if this has been recorded. I hope so. So basically, this is what was the question. So how
Mhm.
can I start learning Web3 or blockchain? Means do I have to learn Solidity language for Web3 or something else?
So I talked about Solidity the whole time I was talking about blockchain, but there are other blockchains. Solidity is mainly for Ethereum, but there are other blockchains with other languages. For example, there's Solana, which is another layer one solution, and that uses Rust. So I, I can't see the question anymore, but I believe it was how should I start learning Ethereum blockchain? Doesn't mean I have to learn Solidity. I would learn a language for a blockchain personally if I were you. Um, and I would personally recommend doing Solidity because it's the community is very active. There's a lot of documentation. But you could also do a different one like Rust with Solana. I would start by learning that language first, at least watching a video on it, and then reading docs. I didn't recommend this, but my favorite set of docs to learn from is Open Zeppelin, because it just has the most useful it's the most useful in my opinion. It has very useful stuff in it. No problem, Akvu. Hi, Akvu. Thank you. Sorry, that was
Nice.
nice with the question.
Perfect. Okay, so I think this will be the last question, and then I'll let you go. By the way, thank you, Cassie. I really loved your kind of answers. Super, let's say, honest. Really, it's I like that. So, becoming a Solidity blockchain engineer or advocating in the Web3 space, which would you advise?
You could do both. I mean, you could go both ways. I know Samina is in this community, in tech Twitter community,
Thank you.
and she's an advocate,
Yeah,
right?
thank you for saying this because she will be on this show at the mid of December. I don't know if you know this. So this has been a perfect. This is an unplanned plug for this channel. So thank you so much.
Yeah, Samina's an. I'm gonna maybe leave that the rest of that question for her in December, but she's pretty successful in this space as an advocate. I obviously am a developer in this space. I work for Music Coin right now. That's how I make the bread. But I know there's a way to succeed in both. I always advocate for the developer path, but there are ways to be successful in both. I don't want to choose. You can be both. You can be successful with both ways. In my opinion.
Yes, I also think so. And since we are talking about Samina, just let me shame them this video, which will be on the 15th of December. So in a couple of weeks. So you can also check this one. And of course, remember to also check Casey on Twitter. So yes, so thank you so much, Casey. This has been great. Thanks for responding. Thanks for your answers. I think you should make more video content. I love your that's seen your header on Twitter. I love that. Check that.
Yeah.
I love the how you look on the right side. Thank you so much, both of you. I really enjoyed this one. Also, it's always a pleasure for you. You die. Thank you. You are super supportive. We are done, Casey, for today.
Well,
My vote is 10 out of 10. Really great, amazing,
hey,
and
yeah,
yes, perfect. So say bye in the chat,
yeah.
and yes,
I just want to say thank you. I saw Uday, I saw Lo, I saw Akbu, Suhail, everyone that came out to support me. You guys make my literally. You don't know how much you mean to me. The support you give me means a lot to me, and really, this community changed my life, and it's because of you guys. That really give me all the support. And I just want to say, and Michael, I see you too. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming out here to support me. I really love you guys so much, and you guys don't know how much you mean to me.
yeah, and just let me remember that, yeah, if you like someone, if you like how they put out content, because this is a time-consuming activity, remember to tell them because you don't know how much difference can make. This is also for me. If
Yeah.
someone makes you a compliment for what you're doing, this is always welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pandit, for being
And
here. This
yeah,
stream is really amazing. This is also because you are here, also too. Yash, thank you so much. Perfect.
Yash, yeah,
So,
love you guys
Casey,
too.
yeah, perfect. I hug you, all of you. There we go. Emma, at the end, you made it. Casey, you rock. Amazing. Yes, Casey, I would love to be connected with you. And yeah, maybe do something. I don't know. Who knows? 2022, maybe we can also do something together. Who knows? That would be really amazing for
It'd
me.
be great, yeah, to collab and just Emma. I just see
That's
her.
it.
Sorry, I love you,
Yeah.
Emma. I see you right
Yeah.
here. I love you. You're
Yeah,
the
of course. Yeah, of course. Really there, right there. Perfect.
yeah.
Okay, we are
Okay.
done for today. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining. This has been an amazing live stream. Bye
Bye,
bye.
guys.
Bye bye.